All right, y'all. So, if you were, I'm not sure who seen it and who did not, but it was about a week ago, week or two ago, where I asked a question regarding the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, Raheem Morris. But I think it's now time to ask Falcon fans or football fans or anyone who represents the NFL in any way, shape, or form, or whoever sees this video and knows what I'm talking about. Point being, I just think it's time to have a conversation about the Falcons, which is going to lead to the money question. Is it time for the Atlanta Falcons to enter a rebuild? Should they hit the reset button? Because, see, here's the deal. I think the loss, well, to me, the final straw of this season for the Falcons was that pathetic loss versus the Miami Dolphins in the same exact stadium you knocked off the Buffalo Bills, who were Super Bowl favorites. Like, here's the thing. You're the Atlanta Falcons. You get 30 pieced by the Carolina Panthers in Carolina, right? 30 to nothing, you got shut out. Then you turn around this past Sunday, you get swept by that same exact team. The same Carolina Panthers that in the past four matchups, you now have a record of 1-3, giving up 30 or more points, or them averaging as a team 30 or more points versus you. And when that can be said about you with your performance from a team that is clearly in a rebuild, like the Carolina Panthers, what does that say about you? Because I get it. This is an NFC South matchup. You're an NFC South team. Division games are the toughest. But, buddy, you were supposed to be competing with Tampa Bay. You were supposed to be the Bucks rivals because you did not even consider teams like the Panthers your rivals, and you hardly acknowledged the Saints, who you practically split with since 2017. And the thing is, since that season, nothing has gone right, and that's the last time you have made the playoffs. But at least these past 2 to 3 years, you were favored. You were favored because of all the acquisitions. You were favored because of the contracts and the hype behind the players who's been inconsistent, with the exception of Bijan Robinson and Drake London. Now, I understand Drake London had his faults last year, but he's been pretty good this year. And then you have Bijan Robinson, who just, well, Bijan Robinson. I mean, what do you want to be said about that? But see, the point that I'm making, regardless whether it's Arthur Smith, regardless of whether it's Raheem Morris, the results of your seasons ends up the same. Chunk plays given up. You know, offense can't get things going in general, even though you have one or two good players that you can work around. Defense, practically non-existent, giving up chunk plays, giving up touchdowns. I mean, I counted at least two games this year where you were leading at home and you gave up practically a game losing or game tying touchdown, which led to you losing the game. Week 1 versus the Bucks, you were up, I believe it was 21-18. Last minute touchdown to Amika Ibuka on a 4th and 8, which was a 25-yard touchdown. Then this past Sunday, you gave up another touchdown on 4th down. Offense inability to, convert on downs. This has been the moral of the story of the Atlanta Falcons, regardless of who the quarterback is, regardless of who the coach is, who's the coordinators are. And honestly, it gets to the point, where you got to stop looking at the coaches and start looking at the players. Because everything has changed in the past few seasons, with the exception of the last name on them uniforms, on the back of them jerseys of them uniforms. And that's sad that I'm saying this, because a lot of these guys are getting paid handsomely. They're some of the highest paid in the league in their positions, and it's not shown this year. And this has not just only been under Raheem Morris, this has been under Arthur Smith. Now, I'm not blaming any Falcon fan for feeling how they feel about Raheem Morris, because when I say, should you enter the rebuild, should you hit the reset button, I'm not just talking about players, I'm talking about coaches too. I mean, should you just blow everything up? Looking at the general manager, which, you could say, okay, he's done a good job with the exception of the Kirk Cousins deal, which was too much money because you're paying $36 million to a man just to sit the bench and stink it up when he does play. Then you got to look at your secondary. You have the third highest paid secondary in the league, but are you really one of the best? Because you have some of the least amount of takeaways, but you're leading the league in some of the most touchdowns given up. That's not a good sign. That's not a good sign because a lot of these teams that you're losing to are in a rebuild, like the Panthers, like the Saints, like many other teams. But you play the Saints this Sunday, so you may be able to redeem yourself. But with Michael Penix out for the year and Drake London not being there this Sunday, that's gonna only like demise your offense even more because now that's gonna put a lot of pressure on Beecher Robinson behind an offensive line that's practically suspect with an offense that couldn't get going anyway. Then you have your defense that's just inconsistent. So that's why I'm asking, is it time? Because you're 1-3 right now, and that's just an example. The Carolina Panthers are a team that's in a rebuild, and you're 1-3. You they have averaged 30 points or more against you in 3 out of 4 of these past matchups. They just swept you in a rebuild. While we can name your coach, your general manager, more than 5 players on your team, we can only name like 2, maybe 3. J.C. Horn, Bryce Young, J.C. Horn, Rico Duetto. That's it. Everybody else we cannot name. So you're getting owned, outclassed, outschemed, outcoached, outplayed, beaten by teams that are in the rebuild with only 2 to 3 players and surrounded by a bunch of nobodies. That's why I'm asking this. Is it time to hit a reset button? Not only just on your coaching staff, but the whole organization. Because think about it. Y'all touched on this. Only 2 players this year have really earned their rights to be untouchable this season. Untouchable this upcoming offseason. And it is not the players who has already gotten paid. It is not the players who are already some of the league's highest paid. And have you really seen that this season? Is it worth taking on next season and seasons moving forward with them contracts? Because think about it, you don't even have a first round draft pick. That's already gifted to the team that is now sitting there, I believe is 8-3? Leading the best division in football in the lights of the LA Rams. And this is the thing, the Carolina Panthers are battling for a playoff spot and a division title while you're one more game for mathematically being sent home. Think about that. Then you got the Rams who got your draft pick, who that cannot be said about, who's leading a division that is one of the best, if not the best, in football. So the only question I got, is it time for a reset button / rebuild in Atlanta? Should the Falcons hit the rebuild, hit the reset button? Thank you for tuning in to the latest sports take. For more content and or coverage on your favorite leagues and sports teams, give me a follow on your favorite platforms at Shaymax Sports, along with my podcast a follow at The Shaymax Show to listen to more.